As I wrap up the T-Shoot series with you, I wanted to put one final nugget together. I call it Espresso Roasting and Other Exam Study Tactics. It actually came from a student tweet some time ago where I was asking somebody, is there anything else that you would put in the series? And they go, teach us how to roast espresso. So anyway, it became kind of a running joke. Nonetheless, this is probably your last exam for the CCNP certification, and I'm honestly so excited for you because I remember what it was like when I got my CCNP. I was like, "Oh, it was a great day." So anyway, how can you prepare for this exam? This is a very unique exam from the series. So first off, let me run through the list and I'll just expound as I go, right? Number one, get the exam objectives from Cisco.com certification site. So you've obviously been there before. You know where to get the exam objectives, and it shows all the things that they're going to test on. Now, the T-Shoot exam is a little unique because anything's fair game. It's kind of like, well, you went through route, you went through switch. Now let's throw everything at you and see if you can figure out what to do when it's broken. So when you're studying, the advice I always give somebody is to pretend like you're going to be teaching this to somebody. It's not good enough just to read a book. I've run into the same thing many times myself where I'm like, well, I read the book, I looked at the material, what else should I do? You know, it's almost like there's something that flips in your brain when you think, I have to teach this to somebody. Obviously, for me, it happens naturally because I do have to teach it to somebody. But sometimes if I'm just doing some pleasure reading, I realize that I'm going to forget everything I'm reading in a few months of time away. So what I'll start doing is I'll start highlighting things. I'm like, okay, you know, I do this for, you know, even like if I'm studying things for church or something like that, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to be teaching this, so I'll start highlighting, and that way it sticks in my head. I don't know. It's a strange flip that you have to do in your own head. So absolutely build a lab environment, and oh my goodness, I can't tell you, for this T-Shoot exam, if you don't have that hands-on feel, meaning you haven't actually done a lot of what we've seen in this series, it's not going to go well for you. That T-Shoot exam is very much a have you seen this before kind of exam. Have you done this? Do you know what it's like to see something go wrong with the feature of HSRP? You know, it's one of those kind of things where you have to go through and try these things out in order to have the experience to troubleshoot. Now, when I started this whole series, I started off by saying, you know, some people say troubleshooting can be gained only from experience, and I disagree, and I still do. I'm not saying my opinion has changed, but at the same time, if you are coming in with a whole bunch of knowledge saying, okay, I've listened to a lot of learning, I've written a lot of things down, but you've never actually done it, it's going to be very, very challenging. So I would highly suggest getting, you know, GNS3 going for yourself, or buying a couple Cisco switches and routers, and putting them together in a lab environment and doing a lot of the things that I've done in this series. One of my goals in this series has been to give you the fastest flyby of every technology that I could. So you can see that I'm using minimal equipment. A couple routers here, switch here. Never more than I think 3 routers were used in the filming of this series, if you will. I tried to keep it as basic as I could so you could see the key topics of the technology, and then here's what the troubleshooting areas that you could run into. So from there, gauge your level of knowledge. Describe, configure, or troubleshoot, meaning when you come to a topic, let's just, you know, I said it before, HSRP, right? Do I know what HSRP is? That's kind of the first level. Can I configure HSRP in a vanilla environment? Can I take 2 routers and set them up without looking at documentation for HSRP? Then, can I troubleshoot it? Meaning something is wrong with HSRP. The neighbors aren't forming, or maybe I'm trying to ping out and it's not working. Can I troubleshoot it? That's the third level of knowledge, and that's really what they're going to be looking for in this exam. Now, to give you the feel of this exam, it's not going to be a fix-it test, and that's probably going to be the most frustrating thing you're going to run into, is they are all about diagnosing the problem, not fixing it. So you will not have access to privilege mode. You will not be able to prove your theory. So you might see something, you're like, ooh, I bet you NAT is broken. Well, you can't get in there and fix NAT to try and test it, right? You have to go through the questions and say, I think NAT is broken. B, next. That's the kind of test it is. So when you're getting ready for this exam, as you're preparing, schedule a date. I mean, right now, as soon as you're done hearing this, look at your calendar and say, I think, whatever date it is, August 3rd. Hopefully it's not January, right? Or something. Pick a date and put it on the calendar. Register for the exam, and then study. Schedule your study time accordingly, because if you don't put a marker in the sand, it's so easy to get lost in the busyness of life. Practice exams, I would not suggest for this one. I mentioned it at the very onset of this series. I would suggest going through the material, like you probably already have by the time you've gotten here, but then go into Keith Barker's series and test and test and test. Keith Barker put a GNS3 package together that you can download and really go through and put your skills to the test of troubleshooting. If that's not enough for you, I would go back to my old T-Shoot series, where I went through and did a hands-on T-Shoot exam myself, if you will, of renting some labs and going through the troubleshooting experience and putting the recorder on, if you will. So when you're taking this exam, I would honestly, I don't want to say this exam is easy, because it's not. But compared to taking switch and route, I would say this is probably the easier of the three if you have the real world experience. See, one of the things that's frustrating about taking tests is there's a lot of good people who know how to do this, who do this every day, day in, day out. Maybe you even work for a service provider, right? And you go into the exam and you fail because you forgot some nuance of something, and that can be frustrating. Well, T-Shoot is not that way. T-Shoot, if you've got a lot of real world experience, if you do this, man, it's going to be a cakewalk for you. You're going to be like, wow, oh, yeah. Like, it's one of those exams where you walk away, you're like, that was awesome. Can I take that exam again? Like, seriously, it's just one of those kind of tests it's very well done, but relies on you having a lot of the hands-on real-world experience of building Cisco networks behind you in order to pass it and do well. So if you do miss it, I always say get mad, get disappointed, because there's no preventing that, and then go back and do it again. Right? Book the exam again. You'll get it the next time. If you don't get it that time, do it again. Keep, rinse and repeat until you finally do nail that exam. Well, my friend, I wish you luck on this exam and, of course, in all your Cisco adventures, wherever they may take you. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.